Jonathan Mphake, you drew inspiration from your father, a truck driver on the East Rand. How did that upbringing shape your passion for fleet and logistics?
It just happened organically, really, and I thought I was gonna do a different thing with my life. Earlier on in life, going with him on some of the trips, the company would allow it. They didn't have RTMS or any stringent rules like we do today, but they would
Different
allow,
times.
yeah,
Yeah.
different times. It was hectic, but just spending time with him, school holiday, I realized that there's a character ethic that his generation had, not just in looking at transportation, but taking that responsibility to say we worry about our performance ourselves. And I remember being in a place in Johannesburg. There's a place called My My. It's famous for all types of things. There's a very strong bump. If they throw it at you, it might bump you and cause serious damage. And the drivers would meet after shift, buy some meat, and talk about the trip and give each other coaching, give each other all types of feedback. And that's where that fleet management is and supply chain management in totality is such an integrated, people centric thing that actually helps them with their life.
So I honestly want to know, how do you balance building your personal brand with being the national fleet manager of SBV?
So, the work, of course, comes first. Not only do we augment the economy in terms of providing cash throughout the country, if SBV stops for 3 days, cash circulation would be severely impacted because every single cent, every single rand that comes out of the South African
Mm,
Reserve Bank at some stage of the supply chain goes through SPV. That takes preeminence. They talk about overnight success. People like talking about that. And I remember Lionel Messi saying, it took me 23 years to be an overnight success.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so people believe that there is no such thing as work life balance, but you have to do the best you can because you have a family, you have a career, you have a brand to look after, you have aspirations about what you're going to do after normal work is finishing. And you have to balance it out because there's so many people dependent on you to do it.
How did you take that first leap to start with public speaking? Did someone give you a mic and you just did it? Or was it an intentional decision?
I think also I've had very good mentors in my life. I've had
Mm,
people who input. There's a guy called Dr. Chan. He is a lecturer at Gibbs, or if you want to say it fancy, the Gordon's Institute of Business Science. That's why the people say it like that to get more points. But I remember I was in a class with him and several
yeah.
of my syndicate group. And I actually honestly felt like I'm the least among them. They said, you need to do our presentation. And Gibbs being very intimidating to a township boy who speaks broken English, I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. So it started off there.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
in some sessions, getting asked bit by bit, and I began to
Mm,
notice, and others would notice more than me, that you need to have something to say, you need to speak.
mm,
It
mm,
inspires people, it helps people.
I read that safety starts with culture, and I also think that's something you may say as well. Could you unpack how you embed a culture of safety across all levels of a business?
So I like the especially the end part of what you said about all levels. The problem in South African corporate, when we have frameworks to deal with certain problems, is that we throw the framework and the tools at the people, and we think by osmosis it will just land. They must do what they are told, and therefore it will make the company better. But
Mm,
if you really look at it from a supply chain management perspective, you have to understand the total ecosystem and where it interlocks. And I like where they say culture because that's the first and foremost thing. For example, if you just throw compliance at people and say, you have to comply, you have to comply, here's the rules, here's the regulations, they will do it. They will never come back to you with feedback of where it's not working, where it could be made
yeah.
better.
Yeah, there's a
But,
place and time for compliance, for
yes,
RTMS. Mm,
yes. And I love the RTMS, and you bring up a very good one. The RTMS, I love
Mm,
it when it's implemented properly, because then it
mm,
takes every sector and every segment of the transportation. If the
mm,
people don't understand what compliance and what governance measures or what efficiency measures we're putting in, if they don't understand the process becomes a stumbling block. And if you give them technology thinking it's a silver bullet, it also becomes a stumbling block where we can blame the technology provider, but we didn't embed it properly. We didn't do the change management properly. We didn't tell the people the why. That culture and ethos where you actually walk and you actually interact and you actually see and you ask questions to understand, not to enforce what your preconceived notion of what the problem is. And leaders that do that find a better acceptance to any change they want to do and actually get better inputs from their people. Their people work
mm,
with them instead of against them.
mm, mm.
And it starts from the top. It starts from the top to the bottom,
Yeah.
everyone on board. Culture
Mm,
is not something that lives on a notice board or in a SOP. Culture has to be something that we are and that we
mm.
all are at all times.
You can be compliant, RTMS compliant, but and it's so good that it's across all so many levels in a transport business, but it's not supposed to be seen as the boss looking over your shoulder. It's supposed to be integrated and part of the culture and part of the company to be compliant, not in a negative way at all. How do you ensure that driver well-being stay front and center, as opposed to only tracking metrics like cents per kilometer?
I think it starts with the driver. For example, at SPV, we had a design element that one of the drivers said, "Hey guys, I see you put this in the truck. If you move it a couple of centimeters here, it will actually make it better for us to defend and everything." I'm telling you now, like it's so wonderful. We got that feedback from this gentleman in
Yeah.
Mkhata, in
Mm.
a center that's a smaller center. But we've changed a design element and we've actually patented a new aspect of that particular element coming out from the input we got from the drivers. So they want to know, are they part of the conversation? Are they human beings that the company actually cares about?
It's a general perception that transport companies are behind on digitizing their business. Many are still busy with paperwork, phone calls, WhatsApps. Um, which technologies are you most excited about that you think SMEs should start with?
For the SMEs, the first and fundamental most important thing is they need to start differentiating between telematics and tracking. What I like about having a transport management system is you might think it's expensive. There's a couple of companies I know, there's one that you know that I know very well with a red color that you can get involved with and speak to them about. Uh, because what is it is if you have transport management systems and you have your
Mm,
telematics and you have everything really data talking to you, it's
mm,
not as expensive as is perceived to be. And
mm.
if you understand your transportation properly, you can actually save money and save money for your customer and be efficient.
Where do you think transport companies bleed unnecessary costs where they actually need measurement?
One of the biggest costs that any transport organization on any type of fleet is fuel. It's as simple as understanding what your liter per hundred is for your vehicles and your application. That guides you for everything. How do you do your routing? How the sequence in which you do? How do you depart early? How do you do X, Y, Z? It influences everything.
What traits distinguish emotionally intelligent leaders in logistics?
One of the most fundamental core leaders I had was a gentleman called Kobus Greiling. And Jacobus looked like a farmer. He walked like a farmer. He walked like a lock for the Springboks. And we were like, what does this guy know about technology? And the things we
Yeah.
learned from him, because he was able to spend time with us and say, this is how you analyze data. This is how you build a graph. This is how you do X, Y, Z. And the leaders I remember the most are the ones that we might even disagree. We might even, because they are leaders, they have to make the hard decisions like I have to make in my
Mm,
department. But at least hear the person out and guide
mm.
them, coach them into the right path.
Mm, mm. Be human. What's your opinion on the African corridor? Is it hyped up, or do you think it can deliver?
It can deliver if we do it right. I think it's going to take that political will, and it's going to take industry talking to the different sector. Private and public sector needs to definitely come together and facilitate that. As an economy, we are not growing at the rate that we should. I
Mm,
was listening to Bonang Mohale, and he's the chairperson of SPV, and he made a statement, and I won't get the numbers right now, but in essence, to just paraphrase it, he said our GDP level is the same as it was when Thabo Mbeki was still president. That means we haven't grown in probably 12 years plus, and that's a shocking thing. And I love the work that the Logistics Command Council is doing, the work that SAF and SAPEX and the RFA and the different organizations are doing to uh, bring government and all stakeholders together so that companies can glean. Because if we can glean from this framework, we will then see exponentially not just our economy, but the rest of the African economy growing. And we need
mm.
to make sure the infrastructure we do have, we use it to the maximum and actually get down to the business of building the country, not just political wrangling. That's not going to help anything.
So I've got three rapid fire questions for you.
Okay, that's scary. Let's see.
Just answer quickly. Top three traits you look for in a fleet manager.
Okay, leadership, understanding of fleet management basics, and as well as a numbers data centric person.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Single most undervalued metric in logistics performance.
Let me see. Sure. Customer centricity, on
Mm.
time delivered in full, understanding what it means customer in terms of customer centricity.
One podcast, book, or resource that's transformed your thinking recently.
There's a book I'm rereading. I've read before, but I'm rereading. It's a
Mm,
book by Stephen Covey, The Seven
mm,
Habits of Highly Effective People. And I think it's a 25-year anniversary, or it's an anniversary edition because his
mm,
son is there and his son is narrating. So I bought the book and the audio.
mm.
So I love, love, love that book.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It was lovely speaking to you and very insightful, inspiring. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.